You can't be serious, man. You cannot be serious!
Now, this is part two of this because I have many things to chat to Wayne about, because people enjoy some of the subjects I bring up that I never tell Wayne about, and vice versa. And if we could just get through most of them without you having to do home duties by telling your mother-in-law or your wife or your partner or anyone else who rings in where the things are. You've got a backpack. You've had to tell someone to put sunscreen on Carter going down the beach. Why you'd have to tell someone to do that when it's 30 degrees, I don't know. Oh, but if you could just keep home duties just to a minimum, I love hearing them, but we'll never get through the things.
We've got Jess is still, she's not available, so I've got to take a little bit more on, Sam. So I'm making sure that talking about that. Now we finished the last podcast with talking about wedding of the head. So part one. So let's the wedding of the head. It's a bit like a buck show.
The wedding of the what?
The wedding of the...
wetting.
Wetting. What do you think?
I thought you said the wedding of the year, as in getting married.
No, the wetting of a baby's head. Has that gone out with ABBA? ABBA's probably still in, but has
gone out with ABBA.
Is that still a thing?
Well, if you anoint them when you baptise them, that's what that is.
Oh no, I know. I'm talking about when you go
having a drink.
It's like a buck.
Oh fuck!
It's like buck shows, right?
Yeah, I reckon that is.
So buck show, wedding of the head, similar type thing. You're celebrating the
baby shower,
the marriage to your forever love. The other one, you've brought a child into the world, and you're celebrating that. So
an excuse for a piss up.
Are they both going out? Because a mate of mine is going to a buck show this weekend, and they've said, now can you believe it? So this particular person's running it, and he's been given specific instructions: no strippers. He's been told no strippers allowed. You're organising it, no strippers. And this guy, he's a big stripper guy. Right, he's a bit of the lad of the group. Now they want to have it down in St Kilda, and there's a couple of places down there on Fitzroy Street. They're not the quality of Kittens or
they're hooers,
or one of the ones on Kingston. They're not of that quality. They're hooers. Not as, but he's running it, and he's saying, and the other part of that is it okay? Is it okay to meet up with the hens party later that day or in the middle of that day? Like,
and throw the keys in the...
Well, back in the day.
Throw the keys in the middle of the table.
You had a buck show. You had strippers there. By the way, I'm not having a go at strippers. They've got to make a living too.
Shit, no.
And it's a job. It's a legal job. And you know what? But this is what I'm saying. So... no strippers, and they're meeting up with the hens. I just think that if you're having a buck show,
what could go wrong?
You cannot give. If you're the buck, to all the bucks out there, you cannot give your best man or the guy you've put in charge. Sometimes it's not the best man because he mightn't be responsible enough to run the buck show. So you give it to someone that you think's responsible enough to put on a show, organise, set up, whether it be set up the strippers, whether it be you play golf and then the strippers come, or you have the strippers first and then you play golf, or whatever it may be. But you can't give them instructions not to have certain things, because I tell you where he's got those instructions from. His future wife. And if your future wife is they're giving you those instructions before you even start, you know what? You're doomed.
I said this last week.
You're doomed.
Wayne, I said this last week. I sit here looking at you and I think, this man has taken the piss out of me and I don't realise it, and he is playing me on a break. I'm sitting here listening to this thinking, shit, I never thought of that. You are winding me up, surely.
No, you are doomed.
Well, if the hens catch up with the buck and we're wetting the baby's head.
If you're having a buck show...
what about, is it politically incorrect to have a fatagram? What about a Sheila?
No, well, that's fine. If you're... Exactly.
Fine.
But it's up
200
to...
pound Sheila.
You shouldn't be able to... You shouldn't be getting instructions from your future wife about what you can and can't do, and or you shouldn't be told that you're catching up with the hens party, unless, of course, there's a lot of hens that are,
frisky,
single, and
frisky.
And, the guys agree to it because of that reason.
Yeah.
Then, by all means. But
As
if the guys are saying, "Well, no, I don't think it's the type of party I want to be catching up." Well,
no.
You shouldn't be giving instructions like that, because I think you're doomed before you start. I tell you this, it is happening way more often.
What could possibly go wrong if the hens caught up with the bucks?
This guy, this was a topic we had just 2 days ago. We're talking about this because he got given these instructions, and by the way, he's not going to abide by any of them. So whoever the buck is, and the people that listen to this, actually the person, I won't say his name. He listens to this. He says he puts it on when he's in bed before he goes to sleep listening. But he is in charge of the buck show, and I know for a fact he is not going to listen to what the buck has said, and or the future wife of the buck, and there will be strippers. So that is, that is a man of strength. Because he's just going to do it his way, and so he should. He's been given the task.
Yeah.
Bit like the time. Anyway, I'll talk about that. Anyway, we got on to just the wedding of the head, just quickly, Sam.
Yep.
So like a buck show, the wedding of the head, I'm having one on Saturday.
Oh, no.
I'm having one.
Holy shit.
So fair to say, I might be in the papers come. So no, I'm going to wet the head Saturday, I think.
What? Yep. Who's strippers coming to that?
No, you don't have strippers at wedding of the head.
Don't you?
No.
What? At a piss up, you don't have strippers?
No, it's a known thing at a buck show because it's your last free night type thing.
Who's coming? Just men?
To the wedding of the head?
No, yeah.
Yeah, it'll be
not
just
mixed.
Men. No, I don't think it. No.
What do you mean you
don't
think?
Well, I don't have girlfriends. I don't have girlfriends.
You don't have girlfriends?
No.
Don't you have friends that are girls?
No. I have one. I reckon I've.
You have no friends that are women.
I've never had girlfriends ever.
So there'll be just a whole lot of blokes getting pissed.
I'm of the opinion that if you have girlfriends, there's one that I've had a friendship with, and she's a good mate of mine's wife, and we've known one another for a long time, and she's a friend that I can ring and talk to and whatever. But in 99.9% of cases, I don't believe in men can have girlfriends. It's just an opinion, because I think if they're good enough to be your friend, they're good enough to be your friend. I think there's an underlying something going. You want to be with them.
What about if you're introduced to a couple and?
I'm friends. When I say friends, I've obviously got mates that are married and they're partners, and we all get along. But if they weren't with my mate, then we would no longer be. We wouldn't be hanging out.
Oh,
anyway, I don't think that I'm not a big subscriber. By the way, I know that there's a lot of gay men that have a lot of girlfriends.
Yes.
But I'm just saying.
Do you have a lot of?
Don't subscribe to the. I don't subscribe to
gay men becoming
straight. I don't subscribe to straight men having a lot of straight girlfriends.
Would some gay men be coming to the wedding of the baby's head, or don't you have any gay men that are friends?
No, I've had gay men friends.
You've had them. Oh, now you.
Oh, no. Well,
no, I don't mean that. I don't mean you've had them as in you've just. I don't physically.
Roland Roccacelli, we know Roland. He's a.
Well, what do you
gay
mean?
Man.
Do you have any gay friends?
I don't have any.
Frequent with.
I don't have any gay friends
at the minute. They're either friends or they're not.
I've over the years I've spent time with gay men. As in not time, as in time, but I've spent
neighbourly of you.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying. But I don't think straight men can have a lot of, or I just think it's unusual that straight men can have straight girlfriends.
Could we alert someone like Fiona Byrne as to where this is going to take place rather than her have to do
I
her
wouldn't
homework
have
and
thought
find out where it is? Is it going to be at a venue? There'll only be a whole lot of blokes getting pissed. Do you think there'll be any recreational Bolivian booger sugar there?
The wedding of the head.
Yes.
I'm not sure where. But I think we're going to do it Saturday. Will there what did you say? Bolivian what? What do you call
Bolivian booger sugar? Any recreational?
I don't control what people bring or don't bring
Wayne,
or whatever.
This wasn't a cryptic.
This
wasn't a cryptic suggestion. But do you think there'd be
people are old enough, big enough, and old enough to do whatever they like?
I couldn't agree with you
and
more.
that's what will occur.
Do you think the police caravan testing the pills will be out the front?
To see the purity.
That's right. Yeah, in case people end up running around the street with their underpants over their head, thinking, "Oh, Wayne's having a child." We want to keep them calm, don't we?
Yeah, no, it'll be very low key, Sam.
Low key.
I'm picturing maybe it might be a McDonald's party or a
Yeah. See if you can ravage a McDonald's.
It'll be
have 30 pissed men into McDonald's terrorising the bloody customers there.
No, you've matured. I've matured. Like years ago, the wedding of the head might have been a little more frisky. This wedding will be more like
he's winding me up.
This wedding. This will be like a little. Be like just a couple of little droplets.
We finished this and we get in the car. Drive home. You said, he's taking the piss out of you, don't you? I said, is he? I tell you, I've been around a while. I'm a bit wet behind the ears. You reckon he's taking the piss out of you? Absolutely, she says. Christ, he's playing you on a break. So you might laugh at this, but I had written down here when you talked about strippers and all that. This is a serious subject, and I'm setting myself up, but I'm not suggesting one way or the other. Do you like watching either overweight men or pregnant women on television doing the weather or reading the news, or overweight men? This is not gender biased. Okay. Do you like to watch that on the television, or do you just like to see reasonably good-looking people telling you what the weather is and what the news is, or you just, in this name of give everyone a chance, let's put all the fatties on?
No, I'm looking you straight in the eye. I don't care what they look like. I care what comes out of their mouth. So if they're giving me the weather, I want them to be accurate. I don't want them to say it's going to be 35 tomorrow and I get outside and it's 45.
What happens if 22? They're accurate and they're reasonably presented? Would you like to see an overly obese man standing in front of you telling you about the weather because he's got a job because he's overweight?
I'll tell you what I will say. I find it, not in someone giving the weather or reading the news, doesn't bother me whatsoever, but if I'm standing there seeing a police officer or a fireman or a woman and they're overweight, that concerns me just because of what they're able to do in their job.
That's right.
But anything else, no, I don't.
Just aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah.
When,
I'll tell you what I find.
Here's Frank Swanson to tell us the weather, and Frank comes out and he's got a walking frame. He can hardly stand because he's a porker. And you think, Jesus, look at that.
I will say this, and I say it with respect, but I know that Dennis Pagan, the great coach of North Melbourne, so when you see an AFL coach stand up, and they might have put on a little bit of weight, and I know that Dennis absolutely had to work hard on his weight to keep himself at a certain weight. He won't mind me saying this, but he did work hard, because I don't think that an AFL coach... He
trained off a bit.
I don't think an AFL coach, and even when I watch, and I know there's about to be a Super Bowl, Sam, and the coach of the favourites for the Super Bowl again is a fairly big guy. I just find, and some people say, oh, they're big boned, or they're. But I just think if you're in charge of an organisation that has dietitians, gymnasiums, you have physiotherapists, doctors, osteos, you have chiros, you have everything at your disposal not to be overweight, and I find that a little bit. And when you're telling people to go out there and do this and do that and do that, and you can't at least keep yourself in reasonable shape, then that to me, I find, by the way, I'm not sitting there judging, going, I just find it. No, I'm not saying it I don't mean to be coming
disparaging,
derogatory. I want to be saying it in a manner that I find that if you're in those positions, I just find that you lose a little bit of your impact in your delivery and your credibility to some degree.
Isn't that extraordinary? I couldn't disagree with you more.
Disagree with me more?
Well, if you've got
You're just talking about someone reading the news.
Because you're not listening to what I'm saying. When you turn on the television, you like to look at aesthetically pleasing people, surely, whether they're men or women, delivering either the news or the weather or whatever. When they are coaching or part of a football team or a communal sport, who gives a fuck what their shape is?
No, they've got no excuse to be like that.
Of course they have.
What excuse have they got?
Because they've been out of the game for many years and they've let themselves go, but they have a lot of knowledge.
They walk past a gym every day. They walk past a pool every day.
Maybe they don't want to do the gym because they've done it for 30 years of their football career.
I just think if you're delivering a message about health and fitness and all of that, then you should be fit yourself, or at least be attempting to be a little bit fit and not blow out.
Yes, if you're a spokesman for the health minister and look as though you've eaten furniture, that is not a good look. I go along with that, but there's...
well, anyway, it's just an opinion. I'm not being judgmental. I don't really care. I just think that when I do, in particular when it comes to sports, and you look at... there's sport coaches, and some of the coaches that are out there are probably great coaches. But
speaking of,
you can do, what would be the harm of coming in, before you speak to the boys and doing an hour on the bike or in the pool. If you can't walk or run, get in the pool. If you can't get in the pool, get on the bike. If you can't get on the bike, go for a run. If you can't run, walk. There's plenty of things to do.
Yeah. So if you lose a grand final with 15 goals and you come in after and I say, shit, he didn't make many moves, but fuck, is he fit? Did he look good? Speaking...
you make a good point, Sam. It's just an opinion and it's not being judgmental.
Just as an aside, you mentioned the NFL or the Eddie's boy playing in the biggest game.
I thought that was 2 weeks ago. This game's been dragging on for 8 weeks.
They've had to get there. The Ohio Buckeyes are playing as we speak. What's today? They're playing.
I thought it was last Tuesday they played.
No, they did.
They've won.
No, they haven't won.
Oh, the finals are today.
You can speak.
Finals today.
This final is today or Tuesday.
Sue's just thinking of the Aperol Spritz.
and Eddie's boy Joe is the kicker for the Ohio, the punter, and Matt Rendell's son, who I'm sorry I don't forgotten his name.
Yes,
Matt Rendell, the late Matt Rendell's son, is the kicker, the punter for the opposition side,
Texas,
and it's huge, and talk about as proud as a dog with a tin dick. Ed's sitting up there like there with these Carla and Xander's gone over.
Do you reckon Ed? You know how Ed will see the funny side of this, I'm sure. But
let's hope.
Do you know? Yeah. Do you know how the the footballers, and I've heard these stories. Footballers would go across to America and they would say, let's say it's Jonathan Brown or Dermot Brereton or Jason Dunstall, and they'd be over there and they'd meet Americans and their mates would say, Jason he's the Pelé. Yep. He's the Pelé of Australia, but it's a different game. But that's the level that he's on, and they talk about things like that. Do you think that Eddie sort of when he's over in America, he wants people to say you're the Robert Kraft of Australian football?
Robert Kraft being the coach of...
being the owner. The owner of...
I meant that.
The New England Patriots. Do you think Ed would he like that comparison?
I think
Robert Kraft?
I think he'd probably like the comparison. I'm serious.
Robert Kraft's a good comparison.
The owner...
saying, Eddie's the comparable to... Robert Kraft of the NFL.
Comparable. I think Eddie would prefer, he might like to be the Robert Kraft. I think he would be preferred to be known as the Australian media megastar that he is. And I don't know.
So you think he'd want to be known more as a media
mogul,
not a president or owner of an AFL club,
because he's not.
What's bigger? No, but he was. Well, you know what? He sort of was.
To be the
if it wasn't for Eddie Maguire, he was the owner of Collingwood.
Well,
he was the president, the owner, whatever you want to call it.
I understand what you're saying.
What's a bigger accolade?
Theoretically, he's not the owner of anything.
I know, but because we don't have private ownership.
That's what I'm saying.
But what's the biggest accolade? Is it to be an owner? Like if Ed, I think what Ed did for Collingwood was extraordinary. Is more than what he did in the media. I know he did a lot in the media, but I think what he did for Collingwood was enormous.
Yes, in that particular vocation, that particular avenue of sport. But I would say being being the top mover and shaker in the media, which he is.
Okay, so could he be?
Maybe still is.
Robert Kraft cross. Joe Rogan. No, he's not as promiscuous.
The bloke who owns
as
CNN. What's his name? Come on. Jeez, we're married to Jane Fonda. What's his name? God, how am I going?
But a cross between the two then. Robert Kraft cross with, what about AJ Smith?
Why can't I think of AJ Smith? Yeah, but he's black.
It doesn't matter.
No, I'm just
Ted Turner. Yeah. So cross between Robert Kraft and Ted Turner.
Yeah, I reckon he'd rather be known as the Ted Turner of Australia than
Robert Kraft.
Yeah, and I didn't mean Mr. Smith. What did he call him?
Is it AJ Smith?
Yes,
he's more like AJ's more Kane.
And when I said black, I was just identifying who you're speaking about. No. He's terrific.
Yeah.
He's a Democrat.
He's Kane Corns is going along that line. I like a lot of what Kane says. I do. Anyway, he gets a lot wrong, but he gets a lot right.
So you know how we said that if you ring up Telstra last week and you say that you're, they ask you, are you an Aboriginal? And you say, I am.
Yeah.
You press 1, you get straight through. You don't go into a queue.
You told me that. Yeah.
Well, this was identified in
that's a pretty easy thing to do then, isn't it? You just press 1.
Well, so the reason I bring it up is I was sitting next to someone who was trying to get Telstra to tell them why their phone was on 3G, and now that they've cancelled 3G, can't get on 5G, seeing as we put a man on the moon in 1969 and spoke to him by the phone. This was down on the coast here in Victoria. It took 4 times ringing. It took an hour and a half. We spoke to eventually someone from the Philippines who could not understand one word of what we're talking about. This went on for most of the day and it is still not resolved. And I thought, why? I said to the person, why don't you just mention that you're Indigenous? And I reckon they'll have the problem fixed in 5 minutes.
I'm not a subscriber to the, a lot of different things, like whether it be Telstra or any of those companies where they fork out all the business to overseas, and then they can't understand you. You're right. You spend half your time repeating yourself. But it's cheap labour, Sam. Another topic.
Okay, I was more saying
cheap labour.
If you get into the front of the queue rather than spending an hour and a half waiting for people to get back to you, why not say
that's not a puzzle.
Just a shade of Indigenous in you?
Well, it's not a puzzle. You just do that.
Not a conundrum. Now, yes. What about this? You like this? Do you think this is right? You've heard of PETA, P-E-T-A. PETA is an international organisation. It's People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. They're always on about.
Yes,
and they said PETA have come out and said they now should ban animals as mascots. So they have the Chicago Bulls. They lead a bull onto the playing field. A bull with a big loop through its nose, and it's got there, and it's huge agates there. It has them shaved, don't worry about that, to see its plums and its huge dork, and it walks around, it snorts, and
Hang on, the Chicago Bulls, they don't put it out on the court.
Oh, well, whoever the Bulls...
that's just you mean, hang on, do you mean the puppet? Like the...
No.
You can't dress up, or the real animal?
The real animal.
Okay.
I know that wouldn't... The Chicago Bulls are basketball side, isn't it?
Yes.
Well, but there's another NFL side or
Buffalo Bills? Buffalo? Do they have buffaloes?
Buffalo. That's right. They have a buffalo come out, a bison.
Yes.
And PETA are against leading the Bulldogs. The big bulldog comes out with a jumper on. And they said, no, it's not fair to the animals. You're exploiting animals.
Well, you do know there was a bit of an incident, I think it was last year in the footy. I think it was last year or the year before. The eagle.
We had an eagle over at the footy show in Perth. They brought the eagles out.
Yeah, that eagle.
And the bloke landed.
The same eagle?
It stood on my arm and it fell down, upside down. I shit myself. It must have known I was nervous. No, it did. And they don't want any live animals to be mascots now because it's unfair to the animals. Do you think that's reasonable, or is that just going too far, Wayne?
No. Look, there's certain animals that you can't have, obviously. Like you're not going to be walking a lion around at the lions, or the tigers. No. Not going to be a tiger walking around. Although a wedge-tailed eagle that did go a bit wayward recently and fly into one of the corporate boxes or something. Yeah. Did you know that and
might have flown in.
Anyway, there was an incident, wasn't there?
Might have flown into a wind farm blade. Killing whales and owls and eagles.
We'll call it Eddie. Eddie the eagle.
That's right. So
anyway, do I agree with them banning? Well, there's only certain.
Maybe the animals love it.
Well, there's only there would be some animals that love it. There's certain animals that you can't have, and I was always in a little bit of shock that the eagles could have that big wedge-tailed eagle, given it flies around. There was always something was going to go. Well, I mean, ask Roy and what's his name?
Yeah, Roy and Siegfried
and Roy over there, like. You only need one little slip up, and no, but we're not laughing about what happened.
Yeah, we are.
You only need one little mistake. So lions, tigers can't. Kangaroos, would it be okay for a kangaroo to be hopping around the ground? Yeah, I wouldn't care about that. There's plenty of kangaroos.
Well, Peter don't
you could get a team. The Rabbitohs. You could get a rabbit with myxomatosis. So it doesn't know where it's going.
Have a little moggy going.
You could have a little moggy
along out because they play like cats. Could have moggies occasionally.
Could have a little moggy going around.
Yeah.
But there's certain, there's obviously certain mascots.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you get a giant? How do you get a giant? I mean,
it was just interesting that. Can they find anything else to complain about?
Just get Aaron Sandilands could be the new mascot for GWS. He's biggest AFL player.
Yeah,
the Giants.
Well done.
Swan. We could walk around with a swan. That's no problem. They can be quite aggressive.
Swans.
Swans.
No word they can.
Who else have we got?
I don't know. But
the crow. Well,
that's right. The point of it was.
Port Adelaide
Peter,
Power. How do you have
could you
power?
possibly find anything else to complain about?
You know what you could do? Oh, I've got it. You could do with the power. You could put a big windmill up in the power. That could be their new mascot. The big windmill.
So we had
Port Power. I've got Port Power's new mascot, the big windmill.
We had lined up to interview a man out from Germany who is out here promoting the windmills. And I said to Sue, please ask him, would he like to come on here? And he said, yes, I'd love to. He said, yes, I'd love to come on to speak about windmills and all that. And I said, well, get him on. And then he pulled out. He declined. I don't know why he declined.
Probably did his research.
Probably knows how you
they're
feel. The most overrated, useless, non-effective. They destroy the environment. You can't break them down.
Someone had just told me, Sam, I'll get the information. I'm sorry to cut you off, but I had a conversation yesterday with a mate's mate. Actually, it wasn't yesterday. It was Sunday, 2 days ago. With a mate's mate owns a lot of land a lot of land,
Yep.
and I think it's is it in New South Wales? Might be in Victoria. Anyway, he owns a lot of land, and he has just signed a deal.
Yep.
So part of his land, and guess what they're putting there?
Yeah, windmills.
Windmills, and he's been given a lot of money to do it, for them to use it.
Yep.
And I said to him, I said, well, you know, so I went straight onto the defensive, and I brought up all of your stuff that I've learned off you about the windmills. No, I did. And I said, you know, they're this and that. Have you heard what Donald Trump's been saying about them? And
they're not effective.
They're expensive. They're not effective. They're this and that. And, you know, he said, yeah, I don't disagree.
Just taking the money.
He said, I've read all that. He goes, but my mate, he's just happy to take the money because it's huge renting the land. And he said, that's it.
It's an absolute rort.
Yeah.
And,
small world, isn't it? Who would have thought? And then 2 days ago, I'm having this chat.
Who would have thought that? Now,
who would have thought?
I'm only reading this out for a reason as well. Okay. I won't read the whole lot, but you remember Dan Andrews drove into a bloke on a bike, although he said the bike drove into him.
And why just on that too, why both Dan, what's Dan's wife's name?
Well, Mrs. Andrews.
Mrs. Andrews both called an ambulance that day. And if they would, I find that's part of the thing that I find it funny. Why did they both call an ambulance? And I think it was about 15, 20 seconds apart.
The Newman family are suing Slater and Gordon for just sweeping the matter not quite as it should have been. I'm not saying that about Slater and Gordon in case they sue me. But it says, thanks to the incredible generosity, they put up a GoFundMe page so that they could fight the fact that they think Dan Andrews and his missus got off a bit light from not actually saying what happened as it happened, as was. And I'm only saying this, and this is a decade of hidden evidence unearthed. However, while preparing the Slater's case and after nearly 11 years, previously hidden evidence, including official documents, crash photographs, as well as police and witness statements have emerged, revealing a potential political cover-up involving the former Premier. Right, so the only reason I bring this up is...
Which paper was this in? And who wrote the article?
Hang on. This is the Bike Boys scandal. Big news coming soon. Ryan's fight for truth takes a major turn. That is on... I don't know what that's on.
It's not Daily Mail or anything.
Well, I don't know what that's on. It's on. It's the Bike Boy. It's the Bike Boy Fund.
Yeah. The problem with
and that's what that was about. That was.
So show us that. So
that's about. This was.
We've hit him. No, that was his words when he rang the.
This was Ivan brought this in, and he said, "You can see that there. If you go on the QR, what's that called? The QR code.
That's how you remember. I don't go to restaurants with them anymore. Remember?
That's right. If you go, put that on the QR code. Where am I? Oh, there we are. Yep.
Show me. Look at the headline. Show me.
That tells you the audio of the phone call that Dan Andrews rang the ambulance, and he said, "We have hit a boy on a bike," as opposed to him then saying that the boy on the bike rode into him. So that's what.
It's an unusual first word too. We've, not I've.
Yes, we've. That's right.
He didn't do it together.
No, that's correct.
It's all a bit unusual. But I will say this: I don't believe anything I read.
But you don't have to believe that. That if you do the QR code, the audio comes up of the actual phone.
I've heard the audio, and it's unusual. No question, it's unusual, and the fact that they both rang an ambulance is unusual.
So why did I bring that up? This is why I brought this up. There's always a link to why I bring these things up. There is a huge golf tournament going on at Kingston Heath Golf Club this week. It's an international tournament where the members of the Kingston Heath Golf Club can invite people from overseas, from Europe and the United States. At a huge cost, they come out and they play in a 3-day tournament, and you can invite whoever you like to play with you.
He played there Sunday.
It's public knowledge, I'm going to find his fucking name, where has that gone, Sue? Where has that gone?
Well, I'm not sure what course it was, Sam.
It's Kingston Heath Golf Club.
Yeah, so a mate of mine's a member there who played there Sunday morning early.
Just a minute.
And was it Sunday?
There he is. Mr. Paul Parsonson is a member of the Kingston Heath Golf Club.
Yep.
And who did he invite to be his partner? Dan Andrews. And that has gone over like a wrought iron hang glider.
Sunday morning?
Well, there's a 3-day tournament.
Yeah, so my mate played there the other day. So he was there. And he told me this exact thing. He was playing, couldn't believe his eyes, turned around. Yep. He said there was Dan walking in. Yep. And he said, and to his credit, and apparently as he walked in, everyone turned and looked. And to his credit, he said these exact words, to his credit, did not flinch, just walked in, got himself ready.
Yes, well, and, what else would you do?
No, well, there was no sheepishness about the way he walked in.
Well, how would
but
Mr. Parsonson invited him
and I did hear, and he definitely did, because my mate was there at the exact same time and saw him in the golf club.
So
in the golf club, in the clubhouse.
So someone said, well, you know, it's a bit like trans people, men pretending they're women going to play women's sport. Why don't the women just boycott the sport? Don't play in the basketball game or the whatever. And they said, why didn't the people refuse to play on the? And I said, well, you can't fly people out from Europe and the United States and cancel the tournament just because people won't play because the ex-premier's there.
Yep.
So I'd like to, Mr. Parsonson. He must. I'd like to know who other friends Mr. Parsonson has.
So why? Yeah,
that's Mr. Parsonson asked Dan to play with him.
Well, that's his.
And
he has
completely corrupted.
Well, as a member there, he has a choice to do that.
He does.
And then the club has a choice to.
And you reckon Dan walked in not looking sheepish?
Well, that's what my mate said.
Slinking in.
No, my mate said didn't look sheepish. Walked straight in.
Of course, how could you walk in with your head down and sneak out to
I don't know. I've walked in sheepish before when you're in the news. I've hid before.
I wonder how many people have refused to play with me when I put my name down.
Hey, I wouldn't have thought any.
That clown.
I wouldn't have thought any.
No, but anyhow.
The thing about golf, when you do play golf in a group, but you don't always. You might just play with a mate or whatever. But when you're in a group, you want some entertainment because golf. And I know you love golf more than I. My nephew's fallen in love with golf. He's become a real flog because he can't play, and now he just lives and breathes it. And he's got all the gear and no idea. He looks a treat.
The gear
but so for me, because I'm not passionate about it, I like to have a bit of fun. And if someone's having a shot and they're not playing so well, a little fart noise here or a little.
What was that, Wayne?
A little fart noise when he's about to in his backswing.
a little fart noise.
Like he's about to go in his backswing. You go.
What the fuck? I'll get in the car again. You say she's winding you up, What, you think when you're playing golf, it's all right to have either fart properly or do a fart noise, have one of those whoopee cushions.
Yeah, no, just deliberately do that in their backswing just to put them off.
Oh, put people off when you're playing golf?
Yes.
Oh, that's the way to play golf, yeah. That's the way to play golf. See if you
why is
make
golf?
people...
There's another topic. Why tennis? Because the tennis is on, and I'm glad we've gone in a different direction here, but I'm glad we have. Why do golfers and tennis players need everything to be so quiet to do what they do? Why? What you're lining up a goal in front of 100,000 people and they're booing, calling you whatever. I'm with you. You're doing all these other sports there's noise everywhere.
I'm with you, Wayne, but it's either the constant noise or the constant silence. So if you're playing tennis and the crowd are talking and then there's quiet and the bloke goes to throw the cooler and someone shouts out from the back, double fault, or does something, that's... If you're going to talk the whole time. The golfers, they have that marquee hole that they have where everyone shouts, and if there's constant noise, it's when there's silence and someone deliberately tries to put you off. If you can deal with it's like someone standing on the mark trying to put you off kicking for goal.
Well, that's right, and they do. And you play, you're playing, when you're playing pool or something, you sort of go, you wouldn't want to miss this shot, or
get in there
a little bit, little gamesmanship. So what's wrong with a little fart noise in the backswing of your mate. So anyway, the point I was trying to bring up was to have someone that's entertaining as you walk around the golf course, because it can be quite boring if you're not as into golf. You know, you obviously be walking around thinking about your next shot and where you're going to bend it around the tree and you're going to do this and that. I'm walking up there going, I'm bored shitless. I'd like to have someone talk to me and tell me a funny, joke, or tell me a story, or tell me what they've been up to on the weekend, whether they've been to a wedding of the head or a buck show, or, that's what I'm sort of.
Well, you're not quite playing the game
so
I play.
I like to, when people are playing, and if they're just
you're using it as an outing golf, just
as
a recreational.
They're playing well, and you just, you as they're about to have a shot. Or you make a noise, or you sort of walk in their line.
Why do people fart publicly in front of other people?
Why do they?
Do you think that? Well, you just said they do.
No, mine was a pretend fart.
Oh, I was just saying it was a real one. What's the difference between a pretend fart and a real one?
I don't mind people. Well, it's better out than in. You can't hold in.
Well, in public?
You can't hold in.
Of course you can.
Farts all the time.
I mean, I can belch on cue.
It's better out in the open than it is in a little office. I agree. You're not going to do it in a little office.
Don't do it. You can.
So you're telling me?
Yes.
Oh,
go on. What am I telling you?
So driving Miss Daisy, who doesn't drive over the speed limit, doesn't let people cut in.
Go on. I know.
Painting a real pattern here. So have you ever popped off in front of your partner? Never.
Not deliberately, I haven't.
Oh, I just squeezed out.
I don't. Not that I can recall.
So you've never popped off in front of your partner?
Not deliberately.
Okay. So you're telling me
I can belch on cue. Would you like me to belch on cue?
So you're telling me you're walking up Bay Street. Okay, you're walking up Bay Street and you don't fart or pop off. I say pop off, not fart.
I didn't say that. I said I wouldn't. If I'm walking up Bay Street and I have to emit wind from my rear passage.
Yeah, well, that's
I
public.
Won't do it. No, it's not. No one else would hear it. I wouldn't stand next to the person I'm with, and I'd make sure there's no one around when I did it. So
you'd never squeeze one out, not realising someone's within earshot?
I may have, Wayne, but it's not deliberate. I wouldn't walk past someone on the footpath and go,
do it. No.
And someone say, you dirty bastard.
No, of course not.
Well, what are you talking about then?
No. I thought you were saying...
People break wind about 12 times a day.
I thought
you
were saying, I think it's more than that.
No, but that's at the average, is that people...
I'm above average.
Well, thank you, Wayne.
I thought you were saying you don't do it in the public full stop.
I don't.
You go to the toilet to do it.
No, I don't do it in the public when there's people around. Deliberately. I'd never do that.
There's nothing worse than when you just get with your partner and it's all new. You're lying in bed and your tummy's killing you, and you're going to yourself. You go, oh God. Your tummy's absolutely killing you because you obviously don't want to.
Why don't you get out of bed and walk into another room? Well,
you do. You go into, but you go into the toilet, and then they can hear it 4 rooms.
Well, then walk into another room. How big's your house?
Hang on. Well, if you've just been to this house for the first time, you're lying there with a crook tummy. There's an ensuite. You say, can I just go to the toilet? And there's an ensuite. You go in there and you let it rip, and it's loud. And everyone hears it. And you come in and you go, sorry about that.
Pat Rafter got me to play in a golf tournament down at Barnbougle.
Yes.
He flew everyone down, and there was some, not celebrities, but Wendell Saylor and a few. And
Wendell's a legend.
He's a legend. He's a great man. And there were, you'll remember the boys. There was 3 brothers that played for the Rabbitohs. I think they're from England or Ireland or. Yep.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
And one of them, who's a very good man, he was sitting up the front and I was sitting behind him in the plane. It was a chartered plane. And he broke wind in the trip back from Tasmania. And it was honestly, I don't know if he even meant to, but talk about a tummy. There was, I think there's about 30 of us. 30 of us unbuckled our seat and we walked down to the plane must have been flying with its ass, with its nose in the air. He was sitting on his own. It was the most horrendous thing. If we'd had an airport, the bloke would have landed the plane.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, he's a very good man.
Yeah, he went on the SAS, had a few issues.
Yeah. The 3 brothers played for the Rabbitohs.
What's his name? He's a superstar, premiership player.
Yeah, he is.
He works for Russell Crowe.
Does he?
He works for Russell Crowe. He was working for Russell Crowe.
That is the worst. That is the most pungent aroma I've ever experienced.
What's his name?
Our ears, our eyes.
Burgess.
Burgess.
The Burgess boys.
Yes. The hair went back. Our eyes watered. It was.
Sam
we had
Burgess.
Windburn.
Sam.
That's him.
Yeah, how do you forget that?
Sam Burgess. Well, I couldn't remember Burgess yet. Anyhow, that's so you just break wind at will, do you?
No, not in front of people, Sam. But I make out I'm breaking wind when I'm playing against people in golf, just to put them off.
Now,
and I also walk across the line on the
tennis.
No, walk across the line when they're putting. You know, you just sort of.
Oh, I put the footprints in there. Yeah. Well,
we should play golf.
I was going to say golf. The actual game of golf's just incidental. It's more the fun of trying to piss people off.
That's the other thing about the golf that I've never really understood is why you've got to wear it's changed a little bit, but you have to wear the right socks. You got to wear this. You got to wear that.
Changed a bit.
But you can drive around, but you can drive around with a slab of beer in your buggy.
Not in the courses that not in the proper courses. You can't. Wayne, here's something that you can do next time you play. You might have seen this on YouTube or X or whatever it's called, or Instagram. They get the boys standing there and they get a rubber snake.
Oh,
and
yes.
while the blokes are dressing the ball, the bloke just clips it on, and the bloke say, "Frank, look out!" And Frank turns around, and it is run. Yeah. He ran so out, he headbutted the buggy, the golf cart. He fell over. He ran, and the thing's still behind him, and he hit it with his golf club. And the blokes thought he was going to have a heart attack. He said, "Frank, it's a rubber snake," and he went, "You fucking assholes!" Jesus,
I've seen that.
Well, why don't you get one of them? That'll.
Well, that's a bit of fun. See, that sort of humour. That's what you should be doing on the golf course.
Yeah. Oh, well, let's say that. Wonder if they'll do that at the Masters this year. At the Masters, yeah, or the.
No, I.
All right, now Wayne, and I've just got to do quick 2-3 shout-outs because
all right.
We have hundreds, but bloke, I said, I don't know. Someone said, could we say hello to Phil Hume? He's having some trouble with the council. I don't know what it is, but he said he listens to this. Phil Hume Auto is his. So we're saying hello to Phil. I hope you've sorted out the trouble with the council. And Johnny the Buff. Johnny the Buff from Ballarat. This is MichaelChristianMenswear.com have asked us to read this out. Johnny the Buff from Ballarat. And Lee. I presume that's a man, Leigh. Or would you say that's a woman?
No.
L-E-E would be a woman, or would that be a man?
It can be. They can be both. Actually.
Well, would it be spelt differently?
They can be both. They both can be man.
Well, Lee, if you're a man, woman, or a convertible, we're saying hello to you. He or she or they are from Haddon. Haddon. I've never heard of Haddon. Where is Haddon? You've never heard of it either. Right. So, well, anyhow, we've covered, and finally,
the Buff. Go back to Mr. Buff.
Yeah, Johnny the Buff.
Yeah, what did you say? What did you say?
No, Phil Hume is. This is another shout out.
Yeah, but what did you say? Buff. Who was Buff from?
Johnny the Buff from Ballarat.
Yeah. And what did you say he did?
No, I didn't say he did anything. I said he was. MichaelChristianMenswear.com asked us to. But Phil Hume got in touch with us on another thing. What's that? Some shout outs. Sue's come good with some shout outs. Oh, Dan Barbero. Jimmy Pav, Glenn Millhouse. Oh, this is a whole new segment, sir.
Glenn Millhouse.
Hang on.
It's
he started correcting H, and now he started correcting anyone who said H. And now it's one of his pet peeves. And good on you, Dan, because he is correct. It is not optional. H is how you say it.
Yep.
Don't let anyone say it's H.
Right.
And if you're watching an ad on television and someone says H, get in touch with the advertising agency and say, what the fuck are you employing people who can't speak? Jim Pav nearly peed himself laughing at you, Wayne, all the things you bring up. Glenn Millhouse, not Glenn Miller. Glenn Millhouse loves the podcast. And Umbro12, son's daycare photo. Oh, yeah, this is it. His son's daycare photo was taken in a pink background. His son he said, I don't want my son to stand in front of a pink background. I want it to be white, a neutral colour. I'm not copying you putting pink behind my son.
Why did they put, was there a reason they put pink?
Of course there was, because they're diversifying and they're saying they're just being...
Yeah, that's silly.
And he said, I do not wish to have my son photographed with a pink background. And he said you can either...
If there was if it was just a pink background, who cares? But if there was a meaning behind it.
There was a meaning behind it.
Well then,
he
said, then he has the right to disagree.
Said either change, because it's just done in a green screen, either change the background to white or give me a refund for the money.
I would say, as a bit of advice though, is it who was that? Dan? Did you say Dan? Umbro. I would say as a bit of advice, Umbro, is that you know, it's, I guess your reaction will rub off onto your young fella.
Good.
And small things like that shouldn't really bug you too much.
He said,
because
change the background or give us a refund, he said, and they changed the background.
They did.
To white. They did.
So was it just for his son?
Just for his son.
Oh, yeah.
No, all the kids were having their photograph taken. He said, I don't want my...
individual photographs.
Yes, I don't want my son in front of a pink background.
Fair enough.
Because they're trying to prove a point.
Yes,
and
fair
Brian Arbuckle.
Fair enough, Umbro, sorry.
I said Arbuckle.
Arbuckle.
Arsehole. It looked like arsehole here. No, Brian Arbuckle, he loves the podcast and he's a long-time listener. We have thousands of these.
We should. You know what? It will be good. I like doing the bad ones, reading out the bad ones.
I know.
You're a flog. You're a tosser.
No, I enjoy those just as much. Anyhow, Wayne, it's been sensational. All the best to young Cole.
Yep.
And
Cole.
Oh, Cole, yeah, Cole. And you've played me on a break again today. I've tumbled in several times, particularly about the strippers at the wetting the baby's head. You had me on the run there. So that's it. So that's it from You Cannot Be Serious. Any other final announcements? What did you think of the... I tell you who made a mockery of the tennis, our friends, Nick and Coco. They played in the doubles.
Oh, yes.
Oh, and they just turned up. They'd taken the piss. Yeah. They only lasted a set and then they retired hurt.
I do know.
That's a bit
Kokonakis. I know his trainer very well. And
why don't you get him on?
And we can get him on. Oh, Jonna, I'll get it. Yeah.
No,
I can organise that.
No, I
but anyway, he
get John McEnroe on.
He trains Kokonakis. You know, he does a lot of stuff with Kokonakis, and my information was the shoulder stuff. He went in. He can't play 2 games in a row.
Of course.
Absolutely.
So why did they take the court?
And Nick obviously didn't have any lead up at all.
So why did they take the court?
Oh, that's
taking
a good
the
question.
piss.
Well, 30K, 40K.
There you are. They're taking the piss and the money. All right, that's it. Well done.